Good morning. It is day 4 of the reading rush. I am currently in the car with Rue and Scout, who are not paying attention. I brought Saga Volume 2 with me. I need to get a short read in, I think, today, just to kind of I feel like I'm dragging a little bit, so I think this will boost my reading motivation. I was up late last night working on editing the vlog for the first 4 days, and that shit takes a lot of work. I can't believe people are doing it every single day. That is just so impressive, and I'm so proud of myself because it is the first video that I've done without any help from Chantel. So please be nice to me and my editing skills, because I literally just learned everything yesterday. My plan is to finish Saga, and that's about as far as I've thought. Scouty, say hi. Say hi, Scouty. So I am home now, obviously. I'm halfway through Saga, and I know that I've said in the past I don't have crushes on fictional characters that often, but can we just take a minute to appreciate how beautiful this non-human horned creature is, as well as his beautiful non-human wife? Look at how gorgeous these not human people are. I love that, and it makes me feel weird. So the main story of the first one is there's two, Marco and Alana are two different species, I guess, two different planets that are at war, and they are both conscripted to fight in the war again on either sides, but they fall in love and they have a baby, and they're on the run from all of these people who are trying to kill them because they're interspecially fornicating. So the story is kind of told from the perspective of their baby, retroactively, and then from them, and so there's freelancers who are out to get them, as well as people from their own planets. There's a lot about child trafficking and racism and stereotypes, and yeah, it's just a lot. I'm really enjoying it. I'm gonna try to finish the rest of it in one sitting right now. So I just finished Saga, and I'm very emotional. I loved this so much. I loved it so much more than the first volume. I love every single character. I love every single dynamic. I just love it. I feel like I was pretty, I liked it the first half, but the second half I was like, oh my god. So basically Alana and Marco are still on the run, and they're joined by Marco's parents. And the relationship between Alana and Marco's dad is so sweet. I really love when people form relationships with their significant others' families. I think it is so sweet, so pure. I don't know, I just think it's so nice. I love when families and significant others are all happy and love each other. And then I love the freelancers who are supposed to be money hungry and violent, and they save this little girl. I know that that's a common thing in books, that the bad guy with a heart of gold, but I just love it. It's so sweet. And then you get a little bit more of the backstory of Marco and Alana, and they had a secret book club when he was a captive and she was his guard, and say the word secret book club to me and I will give a book 5 stars. That's so fucking cute. 5 stars, 100%. I love this. I am bummed because I don't have the next one in person, so I think I'm gonna order it right now. I loved it so much. So I think I'm going to go pick up A Man Called Ove next and start that one. I'm not sure if I want to finish The Angel's Game or switch it out with a different book because it's so vibey. I don't know how to describe it, but it's so like melancholy and it's kind of bumming me out, even though it's like beautiful and I love reading it, and it's like not necessarily, no, it is a pretty sad story, but that's not the vibe I want right now. So I think I might switch out that book for something else. We'll see. I don't know. I want to go get started on the next one. Also, how pretty is this? I'm just sitting on the stairs to the basement, but like, it's so nice. So I'm once again changing my TBR. Normally, like Chantel and I have talked about this a lot, and normally I'm like, I think people should stick to their TBRs. I don't understand why people would choose books and then switch them. But now I get it. It's hard to read as much as I'm trying to read this week and not mood read. So I'm changing. Originally for my outside book, I was going to, I don't even know anymore. Whatever it was in the past, I'm now changing it to A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I don't know why it took me so long to figure out the title. And I wanted to pick this up because fantasy is probably what I read the most, like fantasy and thrillers, I would say. And I don't have either of those in my TBR for this week. So I definitely have been feeling like I'm missing that this week. I did start A Man Called Ove. I read like 20 pages, but then I was like, oh, it's so nice out. I'm gonna go sit outside. So I was like, well, I need to read this book. So I'm gonna start it. I really don't know anything about it other than that it's a prequel for Game of Thrones. I just finished rereading all of the available Game of Thrones books, so I've been like kind of missing that too. I'm gonna try to finish this today, I guess. I don't know, we'll see. Or get halfway through every book. Girl, I don't know. We're just gonna go with it. And Scout says hi. Can you see Scouty? There she is. She paws. Scout! She's so uninterested in anything I have to say. Okay, so I am about 56 pages in now, and I've figured out what it's about. Apparently, this is a compilation of the first 3 official prequel novellas, so I didn't know that was the thing. But it's about a hedge knight named Dunk, Sir Duncan the Tall, and his squire Egg, who is, I can never say this, Aegon? Yeah, Aegon. Aegon is like posing as this young boy squire, whatever, and it's basically a story of their adventure. So right now they're at a tournament where Sir Dunk is like trying to prove himself to other knights and be like, hey, I'm poor as shit, but I'm really big and I fight good, so let me hang out with you. I don't think it's gonna take me very long to get through this, but I just wanted to give an update before it got too dark outside. I'm gonna keep reading. Hopefully I can stay out here reading for a little bit longer because this is what I'm in the mood for right now. But I think so far I've read today just over 220-ish pages, so not as much as I wanted to, but with changing up my TBR, I actually have no idea how many pages I will need to read anyways. So maybe I'm crushing it, maybe I'm not. It doesn't really matter. No one cares except for me. And I don't even care that much. Good morning. It is the 6th day of the reading rush. Last night I didn't read any more of Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I went inside because I was getting eaten by bugs. But I did read more of A Man Called Ove. It's already so sweet. I love crotchety old people. I can already tell I'm gonna love A Man Called Ove. Like, I can already tell that it's gonna be a 4 or 5 star book. And I think Beartown might be my least favorite that I've read of Frederick Bachman's books so far. I don't know, I just feel so connected to the story already, and I'm only, I think, 50 pages in. Like, I adore this man. And in Beartown, it was like a slow, sad burn, and I think the writing style was really different from A Man Called Ove and My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. These two are more like whimsical and sweet. Normally I don't like reading books that are just like about a day in the life or just a family drama or that kind of thing. Like, I like my books to be not like real life, because like that's why I'm reading a book, to escape from real life. And even though A Man Called Ove is about just a man living his life so far, I love it. But I think that's like the sign of good writing, is when someone can write about a topic that you don't necessarily care about, even though I do have a soft spot for characters like Ove, and write it in a way that you're just like, please give me that more. I want to read this whole man's life. Please, yes, tell me. My plan for the day is to spend most of it outside reading this, but there's a heat advisory today and tomorrow, so I'm gonna try to do most of my reading. I was gonna say in the morning, but it's already afternoon. I'm gonna sit out here until I can't take it anymore, and then I'm gonna go inside and try to finish A Man Called Ove today, which I think I can do because I have nothing else going on. I just finished the first novella in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and when I first started reading it, I thought that it would be a lot of just about the tournament and the fighting, and it was a lot about the tournament and the fighting, but at the end it turns into a really sweet story about honor and loyalty and sticking up for what's right, and I really enjoyed this story. So the premise is, I said a little bit yesterday, but Dunk and Egg are at a tournament, and Dunk is trying to prove himself, but as the tournament goes on, he notices some not knightly or princely behavior in some of the people in the tournament, and he finds out Egg's true identity as Aegon, and he basically takes a stand for what is right and has to fight to stand up for that. It was a really sad and sweet story for just being 100 pages, but I really enjoyed it. Now I'm gonna start the second, which is called The Sworn Sword. The first was called The Hedge Knight. It is now 10:30 at night, and this was not as successful of a day as planned. I did end up reading about 200 pages, like 100 each from A Night of the Seven Kingdoms and A Man Called Ove. I'm liking them both a lot. I'm in the second novella of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I am about halfway through A Man Called Ove, which I'm adoring so far. I realized I didn't say what it was about earlier. It's about a curmudgeonly old man who you think is just kind of a dick, and he has a stick of his butt with like people doing things in a certain way, and then you find out, this isn't a spoiler because it happens in like the first chapter, that his wife has been dead for the past 6 months, but he's still talking to her as if he's alive, and he's trying to kill himself every day, and every day he's thwarted by having to save someone else in some different way. So the first day it's like his neighbor comes over to borrow a ladder, the next day he has to take someone to the hospital, and you can tell that like his humanity is what is saving him, even though no one thinks he has any, or he doesn't seem to think that he has any. After every chapter that I was reading, I was like sitting next to my sister, and I was like, I can't read this anymore. Like, I don't want to cry right now. my plan for tomorrow is to read all day. Today I took a bunch of breaks. I did yoga. I went for a walk with the dogs. I watched the Jeffrey Epstein documentary. I did a lot of things that weren't reading. So tomorrow I'm going to try to do at least 12 hours of reading. So kind of like a 12-hour readathon within the readathon. And I have to finish 3 books. I think I have probably at least 500 pages to read. So I will have to read more than I've read any other day so far this week. But I think if my sister leaves me alone and I leave her alone, then I can do it. So I will see you in the morning, hopefully bright and early. Good morning. It is the final day of the reading rush, day 7. Last night I said I wanted to do a 12-hour reading sprint, reading readathon within the readathon, and I'm starting now. It is 11:15, so it's gonna be like a 12-hour 45-minute sprint, which is not numerically pleasing, but it is what it is. I am starting obviously outside with Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and I'm actually hoping to finish 3 books today. I'm changing my last book. It was supposed to be The Angel's Game, for a book that's set on a different continent, but I was thinking last night and I realized how not diverse my books were for this week, and I was actually in the middle of reading Patsy by Nicole Dennis Benn before the reading rush started, and I put it on hold for the reading rush. But because I'm kind of pressed for time and to diversify my reading for this week, I'm going to add that on instead of The Angel's Game. But I will finish The Angel's Game after this is all over and I feel like a normal human again. Here we go. 12 hours and 45 minutes of reading begins now. Okay, it is just about 3 o'clock. And I just finished Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and right after reading it, I want to give it 5 stars. It had all of the things that I love about Game of Thrones, but just without as much context, kind of, and we only got one perspective, whereas obviously in Game of Thrones you get a bunch of different perspectives. I'm not going to say much about the stories because they're really short, so I don't want to give anything else away, but it does give us a look into what was going on in the political landscape of the Seven Kingdoms before A Song of Ice and Fire. It took me a little bit longer to read than I expected, just because it was hot and I was distracted and people kept walking by, but I'm gonna be inside for the rest of the day because it is so hot outside. And I think I have maybe like 400 pages left to read today, so I have 200-ish down, 400 more to go. I think I can do it if I stay dedicated. So on to the next one. This book is making me very emotional. In the beginning, Ove talks about how his wife is the only color in his world, and she's the only, like, he was always black and gray and sees the world in black and gray. And then when he met his wife, it was like an explosion of color in his world. And then now he has befriended the neighbors, and he's just this grumpy old sweet man. And the little girl draws a picture and the mom gives it to him, and she says, or everything else on the paper is drawn in black, but the figure in the middle is a veritable explosion of color, a riot of yellow and red and blue and green and orange and purple. You're the funniest thing she knows. That's why she always draws you in color. It's 7 o'clock. I just finished A Man Called Ove and bawled my eyes out. My sister had to come comfort me and make sure I was okay because I was not okay. This is my favorite book that I've read this year. I loved it so much. And there's not like a lot to the story. It's just this man whose wife dies and him learning to move past his grief. But it is the sweetest, most pure story of a sweet man with a big heart. I'm gonna start crying again. It was so good. It was so good. I know I said that I was going to read until 12, but I think I need a little break because I was pretty emotional. I just had to eat some chocolate to cheer myself back up. And it's like the perfect combination of sad and sweet. Oh, it was so good. So I'm gonna take a break and go play cards with my sister and sister-in-law and try to start reading Patsy at around like 8, and hopefully I will finish that tonight as well. But if I don't, I've still completed all of my challenges because this set in another continent than what I am, as well as being the first book that I touched. So technically I'm done with the reading rush, although I would like to have read 7 books by the end of this, so hopefully that will still happen. So I ended up playing cards a lot later than anticipated. It is now 9:30 and I would like to finish the last half of Patsy. So fingers crossed that I can get it all finished in the next 2.5 hours. This is a story about a Jamaican woman who comes to America following her childhood best friend who she's in love with, and she leaves I believe 4 or 6, somewhere like that, year old child behind in Jamaica to pursue this dream, and it doesn't end up being exactly like what she wants it to be, and we watch her navigate life in America as well as her child's life back home. So it's half in America, half in Jamaica, but I'm counting it as my book that's set on a different continent. So far I'm really, really liking it. Okay, I'm gonna shut up because I don't have very much time to finish this. I will update after I'm done. Alright, so the reading rush is officially over. It is midnight 01, and I still have 100 pages left of Patsy. So I am going to finish. I'm still gonna finish. I'm determined to finish. I'm gonna make myself some popcorn, wake myself up, and finish this book. Chantel and I both had a really great time this week reading. It's funny because we actually have talked less this week than we normally do because we were both just reading so much. And we actually haven't talked about anything that we've been reading, so I'm excited to see her vlog because I have no idea what she's doing or what she's finished or what her thoughts are on any of the books that she's read. Quickly, my thoughts so far. This isn't a book where like a ton of things happen. Like, it's not punctuated by these like crazy events. It's just kind of living life along these two characters, Patsy and her child True, and watching them both deal with their difficulties. And it's written in a really evocative way. Like, you feel this, and it's very, I think, eye-opening for the immigrant experience and what people who immigrate to the United States have to go through when they get here, and how difficult it is to create a life here, and how lonely it can be, and how difficult it can be if you don't have the correct visa you can't go home and see your family, and even, you know, for Patsy, she doesn't necessarily want to, but if she did, she doesn't have that option. And she becomes a nanny, ironically, when she, after a while of being in America, that's like ends up being what she does for quite a long time. And it's ironic because she left Jamaica to get away from motherhood. I thought that this book would be more about a romantic relationship. That was kind of the description that I had heard, was that it was about this woman who's in love with a woman, and really it hasn't. That changed pretty quickly within the story, which I am okay with. Like, I'm okay with it not being as much of a romance as I was expecting, and it's more just about her struggling in America. So I'm gonna stop talking and go finish this book. It's 2 o'clock in the morning and I just finished Patsy. It was a wonderful book. This has been a wild ride, wild roller coaster of emotions today with my book choices. I'm gonna give it 5 stars. I'll give more of an update tomorrow when I'm actually awake, but I finished. I did it. Good morning. It is the day after the reading rush has completed. As you saw, I stayed up very late last night finishing Patsy, but I did it. I read all of these books in 7-ish days. So yesterday I ended up reading 605 pages, and I read for the whole week about like 1,800, which is nuts. Like, nuts. I thought that today I would have like a reading hangover and I would be like, I don't want to look at another book for days, but I am the opposite, and I'm like, I want to read every book that exists because I read so much and I love them all. Well, I didn't love them all. So I read 1 3-star book, 2 4-star books, and 4 5-star books. That's nuts. So in the order that I liked them, my 5 stars, this I liked the least of the 5 stars, and I have the 7 Kingdoms, and then Saga, and then Patsy, and then A Man Called Ove. This is my new favorite book of all time. Not of all time, but I just like, my heart and this book are joined forever. And Patsy, I talked a little bit about it last night, but Patsy was an emotion, like a different kind of emotional read. It was a more thought-provoking book than A Man Called Ove. Like, A Man Called Ove is just a sweet story. There's no social commentary really, or like, I mean, there is a little bit, but that's not what the book is about. The book is just a really sweet, cute story. Whereas Patsy, there are so many things that are covered in Patsy, like figuring out what you want out of life, and the immigration story, and gender identity, and sexual identity, and poverty, and like, there's a lot to unpack in this book. I was thinking about it last night. Some of the characters are kind of hard to connect to, but I almost feel like it does the book more justice because you're able to have a wider lens. You're not specifically connecting to this one woman and her immigration story, although you are, but it's more about like the broader immigration experience or the broader Jamaican experience. And I could see some people having that as a criticism, but for me and for this book, I really enjoyed that, and I think it was more impactful for me to read it in that way. Although you do still get a glimpse into Patsy's life and Patsy's emotions and Patsy and True's, you know, individual stories. I feel like it's a much broader story than just that. And I think, whereas Chantel and I were thinking about doing a book talk for A Man Called Ove, but there's not much to talk about in this book because it's just like, that was really cute. That was really cute. That was really cute. But for Patsy, there's a lot to talk about. So I'm hoping that Chantel will want to read this and we can kind of break this down, or if anyone has read Patsy and wants to talk about it, let me know in the comments because I want to talk about this book. That is it for the Reading Rush 2020. It's crazy. It's the first Reading Rush that Chantel and I have ever participated in. It was a success. It was very challenging. I have never filmed myself so much. Thank you all so much for watching. It has been such a fun week, and Chantel and I will see you in the next video.